Hey, my name is Michelle. I am your emotional resilience coach, and today we are going to speak about the extreme form of the flight response. But before we do, please don't forget to hit subscribe, hit the notification buttons, and like, share with whoever you know will benefit from this. Today we are going to chat about the extreme form of the flight response. So we use the flight response to keep ourselves busy all the time so that we don't have to deal with the feelings that we are avoiding. So just as the anger response has an extreme form, which I discussed was narcissism, there is an extreme form of the flight response. So when you are always busy, you are always trying to avoid your feelings, you're always trying to avoid your emotions, you're always keeping yourself so preoccupied with things that you don't have time to sit with yourself. The extreme form of that is OCD. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, how? So OCD is not cute, it's not quirky, and it's certainly not fun to live with. I know that the media makes it look so, and I know a lot of people who have self-proclaimed to be OCD. They'll say, oh, I'm so OCD that way. And it's become quite a popular buzzword, and they don't actually understand what it is that they're saying. And I know that they don't mean to, but they really are offending many people who have true OCD. And true OCD is really, really difficult to live with. It is incredibly debilitating. It is really hard. And it's, for some people, really a hell on earth because it just takes over their lives. OCD kicks in when there is extreme stress, ultimately when there is extreme fear. Just as with all the trauma responses, it is a response to fear. And this fear doesn't even have to be a rational fear. In fact, often in the case of OCD, it's not a rational fear. It is something that the mind has made up, or the mind has decided for itself, or really what it is it's intrusive thoughts that come in. So an intrusive thought will come in and they're not happy, they're not friendly, they're not kind, they're not benign in any way. They are always very deeply disturbing. They are overtly sexual or violent in nature, and they will do with a theme that is even more disturbing. So it could deal with a religious aspect, maybe priests, bishops, teachers, guides, or it could deal with children. So it would be something that is normally quite sacred in nature on its own, and these thoughts are very disturbing that come through. Sometimes these thoughts are emotional flashbacks that come back to the person who is experiencing them. The thoughts are really loud, they're really ugly, they're really about telling you how horrible you are, what a nasty person you are, how ugly you are, how mean you are. And the person who is going through it is really going through their own sort of hell. So the thoughts could really be anything. But what happens is that the manifestation of it becomes a compulsion to this obsessive thought that you're having. So it could be, for example, an image of you running somebody over, or knocking somebody's pet over, or hurting somebody's child in some way, and you will drive around and around the corner checking and rechecking that you actually haven't done it. It's also been dubbed the doubting disease because we have so much doubt within ourselves. We don't trust ourselves. And because we don't trust ourselves, we will check and recheck and go back. And so we will partake in a ritual of some sort, be it either physical or mental. And so maybe you have thoughts of something terrible happening to one of your children. And so you check and recheck the doors repetitively because you don't trust yourself. You have such doubt that you're going to do a good job in protecting them. Perhaps it is picking up a germ that you're going to pass on. And so it will result in washing hands to the point of them being raw. Those obsessive compulsions that we don't see would manifest in perhaps counting. That's the one I have. I count to soothe my brain. I don't necessarily always have intrusive thoughts. I tend to have more emotional flashbacks, or I might feel that in some way I have behaved or reacted unkindly. Growing up, I was always told, it was drummed into me how very inconsiderate I was, to the point where inconsideration for me, to be inconsiderate, is actually a huge fear. And so I will go through in my mind over and over again what it is that I said, or what it is that I did, or how it was that I showed up, and I will scrutinize over every little thing that I did and look for perhaps maybe in some way I was inconsiderate, and then obviously that loud voice just beats you up. And so to escape that pattern that can happen, to just soothe that, it could be counting, it could be repetitive prayer, it could be rumination. Rumination is really, really dangerous because it puts us in this black hole that sucks us in, and it's really, really hard to get out of. So what do we do with our OCD? Well, first and foremost is just to be aware of it and be onto yourself and realize that what you're dealing with is OCD. What our brain does is, our brain is just trying to protect us. So we will have an irrational fear, and the amygdala will set off the fight or flight response, and we will go into flight. And by going into flight, we will delve into our particular compulsion, be it a physical one or a mental one. And what we're doing is we're either trying to distract ourselves or soothe ourselves. And that's why cognitive behavioral therapy is really good for OCD and has had great success. It is about replacing those thoughts. It's about talking yourself down. It's about calming yourself. It's about making new neural pathways in your brain and teaching yourself a new, better coping way. The problem is that there are a lot of coping skills that we don't have, and our brain has tried to do a really good job of finding a way to help us cope with extreme stress or extreme fear. And so we fall into these patterns. And so it's about learning different skills, learning new skills. It's learning to feel the fear, acknowledge the fear, accept the fear, and not react to it, which in the beginning is really, really difficult. So it's not getting up to wash your hands 50 times before you leave the house. It's, making sure that the amount of times you've checked the door is enough. You can do little things like put bright sticky notes there to say to yourself, okay, I've checked this door, it's all right. It's perhaps pulling over on the side of the road in your car and talking yourself down that you've now driven past 3 times and it's okay. We ask for a lot of reassurance. So we would look at somebody a lot and say to them, did I do this? Am I okay? We need a lot of reassurance. We need a lot of validation. And so practicing giving that to ourselves is a habit that we can get into. While we still ask for that reassurance, that validation, we can ask for it less, the better we get at giving it to ourselves. Not reacting is really difficult. I'm making it sound easier than it actually is. So we're going to have a lot of patience with ourselves and a lot of love and compassion to not react to those moments when that OCD kicks in and we want to respond to that fear. And so cognitive behavioral therapy is a really good way to do that, learning skills and tools, and also learning to just not respond to it. So that is the extreme form of the flight response, is OCD. And if you know somebody who has OCD, just give them a lot of love and compassion, because it really is something difficult to live with.